Hi again, this is Rick with AmazingAccuracy.com, and today is October 10th, 2011, and I'm continuing to go through my video archives that I still have on my local drive, trying to replace some of the videos that were originally deleted when my Amazing Accuracy channel got inadvertently deleted and cannot be recovered. Okay, so what I kind of was focusing on today is the S&P market. Seems to be the most popular of all the videos, even though I do videos on hogs and soybeans and corn and all these other things. Uh, I probably won't go back and put those on unless I can find them and they're worth putting up. But I just wanted to continue with the SP, the stock market, because that seems to be on everybody's mind. Months ago, matter of fact, as far back as November of 2010, I had warned on my videos as well as my free newsletter that the stock market was likely to top out around the summer of 2011 and would likely decline into a second part of the major decline, the second part of the recession. Now the talking heads are starting to mention the possibility of dipping back in the recession. I had said this for over a year now, that the market, the original drop, 2007 down, the initial leg of the recession, that was just that, just the initial leg. When they said the recession was over in 2009, I thought how ridiculous. But it's the usual propaganda that we normally get through the media and so forth. Government wants us to have happy, cozy feelings about the market, confidence and so forth. But I've been warning my client traders within the FD membership. I've been warning on the newsletter. I've been warning on these videos. I don't know how many times I'd have to do it, but I think it's important to understand that the worst is not over yet, and that the S&P market is very likely to continue down overall, second leg of the major recession, and has the potential to be a whole lot worse than the first leg. And so whatever you can do to prepare yourself, it would be a good idea to do so. Anyway, what I want to do in this video is to recap the S&P May 2011 top and July bear prediction video that I just reposted a few minutes ago that came from my archives. That's very important because it recapped the summer high. As you see here, this is a weekly chart of the SP 500 before you. Here is the week of May 6th. That is the major top in the stock market of 2011. It was predicted as far back as November 2010 from yours truly, and I have been mentioning it all through spring that we would be looking for a summer top. May is definitely summer. But in the video of July 25th, I even went over the monthly again, and I was recapping how it was likely that the May high would hold. That we had great potential. The word potential is used a lot, probability is used a lot, because you know what? I'm human like everybody else, and I don't know everything that's going to happen. As a matter of fact, as far as the future, I have no clue whatsoever what will happen in the future. I only have a very good idea of what is highly likely. So there is quite a big difference between being all-knowing, which definitely only God is, and there is one who's an analyst who just kind of crunches a bunch of numbers, curves, and all these other things like I do, and come to a best guess. I'm going to call it a best guess. We name our site Amazing Accuracy because of the fact that our best guesses are pretty darn good. Well, anyway, to not harp on that any further, I just want to recap again here. I discussed, if you go back to that video, and I highly recommend that you watch that video first before you watch this one, otherwise it may not make a whole lot of sense, okay? So look for the video that's called SP500 May 2011 Top and July Bear Prediction Repost. And it was reposted today, October 10th, okay? It was originally posted on July 25th. You're going to see that I talk about the May top likely holding, that there was high probability that the July 8th top would hold, and that a weekly swing top would occur for week ending 7/22. I also mentioned that there was no guarantee that the tops would hold, but that it was highly probable that no matter how high the high of week 722 went, the probability was very strong though that it would top out that week, and then prices would, and quote unquote, drop into the middle of August. That you'll find in the video. You can see here that the high is higher high here than the previous week, and then it's followed by lower bars. It is a weekly swing top. It did not go above the July 8th top. It did not go above the May top. All the probabilities that stated came true. And if you notice, that's when we had the major July bear run. It just dropped like a rock. You probably remember that. The stock market the floor came right out from underneath it. And look where it ended. It ended down here, week ending August 12th. That's the middle of August, friends. And so from top to bottom, once again, we predicted what the market was most likely to do. Going over to the May chart, because we can recap May. Now, here in the May chart, I've taken off that time price square thing that I had on there. I'll put it back on here. Let me hold on a second. I didn't realize that I had removed it, but I just didn't need it anymore. Let me stick that back on here. And okay, that would look a whole lot more like the original chart that you saw on my original video of July 25th. And here you can see there's that May top, and was one line off of the square here. And you can see that remember that week of July 22nd high was at that resistance line, and I talked about this line here and that line here and that line here and here. You see it did in fact hold, and you can see the market here dropped really hard through August. Okay, that's the August bar right there. All right, so you can see that all that happened nicely. Now, the other thing too is here's a daily chart, and the prediction goes all the way back when I talked about July 8th. That's July 8th right there. And you can see here is the July 22nd, lower than here. And you can see that is where, remember I showed on the daily chart, I showed that we had this price bar right here. That's as far as we had gone. I'm highlighting right now the price bar of July 25th. That was the day I posted the video. And in the video you hear me say that. Today is July 25th, 2011. It is blah, 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 Chicago time. You can see that for yourself, right? That is the bar that we had, and here is where everything fell apart, starting the next day on down, all the way down to right here, August 9th. And that has held now, well, it looks like it's, what's that low here, 1070.40. This is 1060, so it held all the way until 10.4 when it made, that's October 4th, that was 6 days ago when it made a double bottom here. Okay, if you got my report, the report on September SP 500, I do one like every 2 months pretty much on average right now, and I mentioned that September would likely be a sideways the bullish run up before this thing started declining again. I mentioned to start looking for October, November for any kind of move to just exhaust itself, and I said to look for the 50%, which is right here. Look for 62% as is the likely retracement area of this down move before it declines again. Friends, we're in October right now. We are very, very near the time for this market now to resume its downward move, okay? But that's another video that you should look for it. Anyway, this is a recap, so let's get back on the recap here so you can see that there's that major drop. Okay, we can see it on the weekly chart. There's that major drop, all right? And as you can see from here, there's that major drop. And that was all predicted right on time to the day. I don't know what else I could say, except if you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please visit my website, www.amazingaccuracy.com, and you can learn more about how you can always be on top of when things are going to happen in the stock market, and also the futures, commodities, Forex, ETFs, etc., etc., etc. That's what we do. Thanks again for watching.